Good evening, everyone. I'll call to order the East Lyme Planning Commission regularly scheduled meeting this Tuesday, May 12th, 2026. Alternates seated are Kevin Mills. Let's do roll call. We'll start with Kevin.
Kevin Mills.
Rich Gordon.
Brian Bombeck.
Tim Leducer.
Tom Fitty.
Nina Franco.
All righty. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to do additions to the agenda, Gary? We're going to...
Yes, we have one item. It's a new receipt. It's new business. And that is the application of Kristen Clark, P.E., for a subdivision entitled Nehantic Highlands and located on property on Holmes Road, Assessor's Map 57.0, Lot 30, approximately 12.67 acres. We're proposing it's 20 lots, all on private well and septic, pursuant to the General Statutes 8-30G.
Okay. We'll talk about that in the end at new business.
Yeah, it's an addition to new business. It's a receipt.
All right. So we'll go to call for public delegations. Public delegations is the time when members of the public are invited to speak to the commission about certain matters, items, referrals, or applications subject to a decision by the commission. A public hearing or in litigation may not be discussed. During delegations, the members of the commission will not directly answer questions or make comment. Do we have anybody who wishes to speak from the public? Okay, hearing none. We'll go into reports, communications.
I don't have any other than, I guess, in terms of my own report as it relates to Farm Meadow Road. I will happy to report that it's received the second course of asphalt, so they're one step closer to getting that completed and turned over to the town. The street lights are now in, so it looks like they're just about finished. They have a little landscaping to do with the cul-de-sac island, and maybe some of the shoulders need to be loamed and seeded, but otherwise I think it's just about there. They're at the point where Alex, our town engineer, will have to do a final inspection and sign off before this commission can make any recommendation for accepting the road, but that will be hopefully coming in the near future.
Okay. All right, zoning liaison, who was up this past time?
I have for the 7th.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
The May 7th zoning meeting, the patio in front of Coastal Crust was approved. Devs on Main renewal for a special permit for outdoor dining was approved, and also at Charlie's Place, the same renewal for a special permit for outdoor dining. The other big thing at zoning was they agreed and approved on text amendments and additions for the short-term rentals. So nothing was officially passed, but just the actual text was agreed upon by zoning. I wasn't able to attend this meeting, and Mr. Mulholland's microphone was off for it, so YouTube was a little iffy, but the short-term rentals are permitted in CA and CB commercial zones. They must register with zoning for $500. They must be occupied for a minimum of 14 days by the renters. Must be on-site parking required for all residents. This is in addition to parking spots required for the approved use. Contact info must be available 24/7 to zoning. Permit to occupy may be revoked after 3 complaints made for unruly behavior. Short-term rentals that are already existing will be grandfathered. Communities that have their own zoning regulations will not be affected by this. And that was pretty much it on the short-term rental and the May 7th zoning.
Excellent.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank
Yep.
you. Ex officio? You good? All right. Gary, your turn.
Just have to report, I guess with the last legislative session, I don't know if many of you were following, but there was a number of bills being proposed, particularly House Bill 5289, and another bill, SB 151, Act prohibiting certain land use and zoning limitations on housing. There was a couple of others, and anyway, because of the significant impact that it would have had on our local zoning, and I felt compelled to write a letter or correspondence to Senator Marks and Representative Menapace on behalf of the town. So that, I guess, was well received because none of these things actually passed this past session. So if anybody wants a copy of that, I do have copies I can forward to the commission just to kind of see where that lies. But that gives you a sense of kind of how these changes in Hartford would impact us here locally, kind of in an adverse way, potentially, depending on how you look at it, right? Everyone's perspective is different. So, but there were some significant changes that we'd have to somehow accommodate and address through zoning, which would have been very arduous, I think. And so that memorandum's here if you want, or email.
That was a good letter, Gary. Thank you for writing
Very
that.
good.
Yeah, very informative.
The other is we did receive correspondence from the Connecticut Army National Guard that there's the availability of a grant under the Defense Community Infrastructure Program for 2026. I don't know that we'll necessarily be able to put a grant application together for this, but certainly through this program, it would give us the opportunity to obtain funds for infrastructure projects such as extending the sewer main, possibly improvements to and upgrades to the facility in New London. The Subbase New London did a joint land use study, and they're calling it Subbase New London, which is interesting because it's in Groton, but nonetheless. That joint land use study certainly identified the need for upgrades at the facility in New London and that wastewater treatment plant. The Stones Ranch's interest in this is really providing sewage capacity to their facility off of Route 1, particularly as they have or may want to intensify their training activities there. So, with that said, again, it's going to be a little research needed, but I believe this is the exact grant that would fit that criteria for those types of infrastructure projects. So I just thought I'd bring that to your attention. It is in line with our own JLIS. However, our JLIS study didn't identify necessarily the need or the extension thereof of the sewer main out to Stones Ranch, but rather securing and ensuring the capacity here at Camp Niantic. So with that, I also just note that JLIS study was done 10 years ago. So like a POCD, it's probably time we update that. So my next steps are really to maybe couple a request for funds to update the joint land use study, followed by maybe an application for some improvements with our sewer system. I don't know, but I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit of a process getting to the finish line with this, but it certainly could be a benefit. Anyway, there are funds available. The maximum award, the ceiling award is $20 million, and the bottom is $250,000. So there's lots of opportunity, in my opinion. So we'll see what we can do.
Sounds good.
That joint land use study, is it required to be updated every 10 years? Or?
No, there's no requirement for it to be updated, but I think it would be good practice as any planning document that you at least periodically take a look. And as, you know, time progresses, obviously the needs of the military and the Army National Guard may change. I don't know, and again, without, you know, continual, they're not going to continually discuss it with us, so.
But that's the planning commission's, the planning department's
Document, yeah.
document.
Yeah, the last land use study was headed by the Planning Commission, and we were the lead community in conjunction with Old Lyme and Lyme.
That would require a formation of a subcommittee for that.
Again, if we were to update the plan, yeah, we'd again have to involve Old Lyme and Lyme for this particular plan.
Sign me up.
I don't know how involved they would be with the small amendment, if that, you know, but they would certainly be interested, I would think, particularly Old Lyme being the bulk.
Do we,
I just don't know if they have any facilities, any buildings or structures in Old Lyme.
would that be required for the grant application? Or is that different?
No, the grant application, we, the town, are an eligible community, so we can independently apply, or we could, yeah, I think obviously partnership and regional, you know, trying to go, or a regional approach would be advantageous, power in numbers, if you will. Again, but it has to, you know, whatever the project is, it has to support the military mission in particular. So,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Last month, we talked about standing up the Affordable Housing Subcommittee. You sent out a letter. We talked about, you know, soliciting people into that group. I don't know if we've heard back from anybody. But the goal was to, you know, have something in place maybe by the fall to get going on that. So, any update on that, Gary? Or
I have not heard back, I still have not heard back from anybody or any of the board, so I will reach back out, send them a reminder, and see if they've elected anybody to either designee or if they, you know, the chairs themselves are wanting to sit. I believe there's only a handful of letters that we sent out,
okay.
so it wasn't too many. I think I should be able to follow up on that. And maybe make quick work of it, hopefully.
All right.
I do know that the talking with the zoning chair and the zoning official, they were hemming and hawing over who.
Of course.
I don't know that they've actually decided whether it be someone from their commission or not. But
What do we, what participation level do we, I mean, we own that document as well, so do we typically have multiple?
it'll ultimately be our responsibility to develop that document.
Okay.
So the housing growth plan will fall into our lap. I think we should probably have a conversation with the first selectman about maybe securing some funding. I'll see what grant funding is available to maybe help develop that that document. It's going to be a few hours needed. I think I had last reported something like 400 to 800 hours. It would take Bill or I to maybe complete that, and that was based on, again, an AI estimate, but at least it's something to go off of.
So if anybody on the committee wants to get involved, can submit their name to Gary, join that team.
Sign me up, Gary.
Tim, all right.
Love to do it again.
Well, it may be just natural that as Tim, I don't know if you, Brian, you're obviously going to be part of that, or
Sure.
so. Well, I guess as we get together, I don't know if maybe I don't know how we'll elect a chair of this subcommittee, and then go from there.
Okay.
I suspect it'll be whoever. I just
Set
wanna
up
make sure.
a subcommittee meeting.
Yeah, we should probably, I mean, why don't we just stand it up and we can just, I did send a calendar to the clerk's office.
Okay.
The room was available on the days that I sent, so what I can do is I can say, hey, file the calendar, and we can just start meeting, I believe.
Okay.
If
Yeah,
that's, I
let's-
can run that all by you before I do that, so that we can.
Yeah, let's
before
just
we
do a
set up
kickoff meeting and see, go from there.
Go from there. Okay.
Okay. Sounds
We'll
great.
Set up a kickoff meeting.
So we'll wait to hear from you for a proposed date. Okay. All right, I don't have anything to report for the chairman. So let's go into approval of minutes. So meeting minutes for April 14th. Does anybody have any comments on those minutes? That was last month. I can't think of anything.
I'll submit a motion to approve the minutes.
A second.
All right, take a vote. All those in favor of approving April 14th meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's 6-0. All right, and then we'll move to the meeting minutes for March 17th. That was the special meeting. I think we had some comments last month, and those were incorporated. Anybody have any comments on that?
I see the amendment, and I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 17th special meeting, 2026.
Second.
All right, we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
That's 6-0. Approved meeting minutes for March 17th. All right, so that brings us to public hearings. The first one we have up is 29 Upper Walnut Hill Road. Jeffrey Ganone. Jeffrey?
I'm Jeffrey.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Hi, Brian Florek. You want me sitting or standing?
Microphone's great.
Okay, all right. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Brian Florek. I'm representing Jeffrey Gano, 29 Upper Walnut Hill Road, for a proposed two-lot re-subdivision. The property is located within an RU 200 zone. The application before you proposes the creation of two residential lots. Both lots conform with the bulk requirements of the zone. The proposed lot in the front will be accessed from Upper Walnut Hill Road. The rear lot, which has an existing house on it, will continue to be accessed through an access easement, which we believe this configuration is consistent with the intent of subdivision regulation 6.2.1. With respect to utilities and public health considerations, both lots are proposed to be served by individual on-site septic systems. The soil testing and evaluation have been completed, and the soils have been determined suitable for subsurface sewage disposal by Ledge Light Health District. Both lots will be served with wells, private wells. Underground utilities are proposed for the house in front, the proposed lot. In addition, an archaeological review and study associated with the proposed lot, front lot, has been completed and is part of the application. Should be part of your package. Okay. The applicant is requesting conditional approval relative to the septic system component associated with the rear house. The intent is to allow final coordination and approval for the septic design details while still permitting the subdivision process to move forward this evening. We believe this approach is reasonable and appropriate given the technical nature of the issue and the fact that the underlying lot design complies with the zoning and subdivision regulations. Overall, this two-lot re-subdivision is very straightforward. Like I said, it complies with all the bulk requirements of the zone, utilizes existing access infrastructure, and proposes appropriate private utility services for both lots. I open it up to you guys for any questions or comments you may have.
So I saw this letter from Danielle Holmes about the septic. So this, the proposed new lot septic system is in the other lot's space, right?
So the proposed lot, and Gary's highlighting it on the screen right now, is in the front there.
Okay,
The question Danielle was referring to was for the existing system for the rear house.
okay.
Yeah,
So,
We're gonna move the property line of my parents' property to get around that septic system, that's the proposal.
oh, okay.
She said we could get a conditional approval as long as we do that, or move the leaching field, which I think will just move my parents are fine with moving that line over onto their property. We own the whole piece
Okay.
and then some.
Does anybody have any comments on that?
Your parents are, is that third?
Yeah.
Yes,
This one
yeah.
here, and then we own two more beyond that, 25 and 23, which is another 50.
That's a proposed change? It's not
No,
already
no
done?
change there, we're just changing that little, Danny wants to change that little piece.
that little,
Little piece around, just where that easement was. Just move the property line
So-
toward the leach field, I think we'll move the property.
So this property line here
yes,
has
Would-
to move
to,
approximately
to the south.
to the
Yeah,
south.
right-
Yes.
Right there.
Yeah, we would do a lot line
Just
revision
shift it 30, whatever it is, 30 feet.
and jog around it.
That won't affect any offsets with that third property, or?
No, it won't. You can see the existing house on the plan.
It's on the next sheet. Right there.
That's Jeff's existing home. So if by shifting, excuse me, but by shifting the property line south, it's not going to affect 27.
Which this is
Which is my mom and dad's.
Yes,
this lot here.
yes.
So shifting doesn't, it still meets all the requirements of the size of the lot and all that?
Correct, correct, yeah.
Gary, what does that do to the application? Like they're shifting boundaries and,
Well, it now involves 27, more than it already did. 27's involved in that they got the existing driveway to, is it 29?
29, correct, yes.
Runs across that. That's getting formalized in this process with a easement across that. I think there was a proposal.
Yes,
It
yes,
already was by zoning.
yes.
Zoning approved this 25-foot easement, that, up on this side.
Oh, I thought they approved the part that goes across.
As part of this, because that was your existing
That way.
access.
Right.
What you were saying is I can provide the 25-foot unobstructed access
Oh, okay, yeah,
here, even though I'm not going to use it.
right.
So they meet the zoning requirement and received a waiver from the zoning commission to do that. And then, here they got their existing drive, which they would, with the
More
submission
on.
of this, if this were approved, there would be an easement across that to lot 29.
To 29, the existing house.
In terms of lot 27, the back corner here would have to get modified through a lot line revision or as part of a modification of this application. Question I gotta go back to,
Or move the leach field, whatever.
or they would have to
Easier.
propose to move and install a new leaching system.
Correct. We would reduce the size of the trenches on the south end and add to the north.
So let's back to the application. My only concern is that the property location is 29 Upper Walnut Hill, and that's the parcel being subdivided, and 27 wasn't included in that necessarily, other than the easement portion. So, don't know how significant of a change that is, as far as property ownership. I would say that the system would either have to be moved, or if they can do the lot line revision, I don't know that we can approve the lot line revision through this subdivision process here, though.
That would be more of a zoning issue with separate to,
It would actually fall under, because the land's already been subdivided, well, it's gonna trigger a zoning review for lot 27.
Right.
So lot 27 is gonna have to go through a B100A review, because it's losing land, even, so their septic might be up in the front, I suspect it is.
yes.
It is, yeah.
You know, they have ample land here. So they'll need a B100A and a zoning review to ensure that the change is still compliant with zoning. But aside from that, I mean, that's really the only impact to all of this. So that's really a separate application process. So I think based on my conversations with Danielle, Joe Wren, the engineer of record for the system in the front here, I think my understanding is that the health code requirement requires the system to be at least 15 feet from the property line.
Correct.
So if the commission were to approve the application, it would certainly have to do so with the condition that the system on 29 be located no more than 15 feet from the property line, and the plan be modified to indicate such. Then they would have to go back. Now, they'd have 90 days, right, from the date of approval before they had to file the Mylars. So they'd have to go back, apply for a lot line revision, get that approved within that 90-day period, file that on the land record, and then file the Mylars after they'd have to obviously be signed and such. So there would be a few steps in there that have to happen within a 90-day period. They could ask for up to 2 extensions of 90 days to file those Mylars, giving them 270 days to complete that lot line revision. I would just note that these properties to the south, while they necessarily may not be owned by Jeff Gano, they are owned by his family, so he does have a little bit of control there as far as what can happen. But that being said, that is still a separate entity. But he is here tonight, and he can speak on, I guess, on his own behalf.
I'm gonna go the
and-
easiest route, the quickest route. We've been waiting, we've been doing this 2 years, we've been on this. It's been,
I
we're
would,
like anxiety central. Whatever's the easiest, quickest way, we can do the lot line revision or the moving, whatever, whatever's gonna be the most feasible.
I think there's a strong possibility the revisions could be done within a 90-day
They
period.
better be done.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Well,
Gary-
at least on my
Gary's
end, yeah,
possible.
on my end, they'd be ready for
Okay.
zoning, for Bill Mulholland's approval.
Doesn't this commission approve lot line changes?
Can you repeat that?
Does this commission approve lot line changes?
lot line, yes, you could, that application, if they wanted, they could, per our regulations, a lot line revision, I'm able to approve. Has to go through a health review and a zoning review, so I can ensure that it doesn't create a nonconformity, and that both septics will work. There are times where I have the discretion to say, you know what, I'm uncomfortable with that, go to the commission. I've done that before.
Okay.
So this commission can approve those lot line revisions as well. I mean, certainly they can come back here and make that application if you want.
That makes sense to me. First, pick one, and then come to us with that decision.
Tonight that everything needs, as far as the soil, everything needs either way.
In terms of the soils being able to actually accommodate the physical septic, they perk out, they work. That's not the problem. And I think the issue really stems back from the change in the zone from RU 80 to RU 200. We had initially met with the applicant when the land was zoned RU 80, advised them on how to lay the subdivision out as sorts to comply with that underlying zone. When they returned with their application, only to find out the zone changed. So they literally had to toss the application they prepared and start again. So with RU 200, and in order to accommodate that, they had to create this connection to the back of the land without having to actually relocate the existing house. You know, if they had vacant land, that would be a different story, right, in terms of how things lay out. But the land was not vacant, the existing lot, you know, it was over 10 acres. So, you know, it was trying to work around that. And I think if you look at the size of these lots, understanding that, you know, that the number of them, the Ganoes purchased, I think 4 or 5 lots from this one subdivision years ago, with the intent that someday they too may be able to develop their land, although my understanding is they enjoy the peace and quiet out there. So, you know, and to each his own. Point being is they have excess land in which they're entitled to develop, but with the upzoning, it really made it difficult. But it looked like they were able to accommodate the land areas, but in doing so, they create this lot line adjacent to his existing septic. So that's creates some problem. But otherwise, I have no other comments or concerns. I know the commission had talked about open space, I think, at the last meeting, and whether or not that was required. I think the applicant has stated that it was not required.
What's the parcel size overall? I saw 10.8 acres. Not the divided portion, but the entire.
Kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So 7-2 states that anything 10 acres or more must have open space dedicated. I don't know. Brian, do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I didn't understand your basis for saying that that didn't apply, the open space requirement didn't apply.
Other than was it previously provided with the subdivision of 1, 2, 3, and those 4 lots that were purchased?
Yeah.
So I guess that's my I don't know if that's the rationale.
It sounds viable to me.
Sounds fine. Okay.
Yeah.
It appears like it applies in the subdivision regulations, and, I mean, you at least have to request a waiver, formal waiver through the commission.
Also says less than 4 lots, or less than 10 acres.
I would formally request on the record.
Okay, all right,
Waive
so,
the requirement.
so I'm formally requesting to waive the open space requirements due to the fact that there is open space with the previous subdivision associated with this property.
And with that, I'll just note that that the request was not necessarily in writing, but it is verbal. I think this is kind of more news to them. But I think there's something that needs to kind of just be vetted here, and that's if the subdivision that was previously approved, right, these lots came from a previously approved subdivision, if there was open space in the amount of 10% dedicated as part of that subdivision, they wouldn't be required to provide any open space, because it had already been dedicated. It's not, they're not applying for a conservation design development, so they don't need to provide the 30% that's required to get that dimensional flexibility.
Is there any way to verify that, or is it the original subdivision application?
Do you know when the original, I know what I can do here. Yeah.
89?
Yeah, early, before 1990, 87, 89.
As long as it wasn't in the 50s.
I wasn't born then.
Go to the website. So basically, I want to just check the,
And I apologize because this is, like Gary said, news to me, so.
you can take a look at the parcel card, and that'll give you ideas when this thing was originally approved. looks like the lot would have been created in '87. So more than likely, they provided 10% open space at that time. I don't have access at the moment to a digital file of the regulations that were in effect in '87. We do have hard copies, I believe, downstairs in the clerk's office.
So it's,
But this just tells me when the lot was first kind of created, 1987. You see, there's no other ownership there. So that's when it was
It's-
developed.
so
That was 27. So that whole subdivision.
we're just trying to follow the regulation, not trying to give you a hard time.
No,
but
no, I understand
it
that,
really,
yeah.
it shouldn't be incumbent upon us to figure this out. Like, you would request a waiver, identify the requirement, request a waiver, and then if you do the research and say that this was previously open space dedicated, that's the justification, then we would just review it and approve it as part of the process. So, it's not like, it's difficult for you to say, I verbally request a waiver for open space, and we don't really know if that was done earlier or not. It's putting us in a kind of a hard spot, you understand? And I understand you probably had it with this process as well, but
That's an understatement.
I know, we're just trying to uphold the requirements of the subdivision regulations, so,
I'm almost positive it was. My father would know,
okay.
because I knew he had some forestry act,
So-
land or whatever.
Gary, is this something where we could, we talked about, you know, moving on through this, like, you know, concluding the public hearing, because
Yeah,
we're out of time with that, and then they'd have a certain period of time to prove these things.
we have 65 days to render a decision.
Okay.
So basically, they'll be out of luck in terms of being able to submit any new information. I certainly can submit a memo with a proposed motion based on the information provided to you in the record. So I can do some looking on the land record. I would say that anything that's filed on the land record is public record. And therefore, if I introduced it to you after the close of this public hearing, again, it's public record. So I don't think it's that detrimental in terms of new information. But so I think the best I could do is really just recommend that if the commission's going to consider approving this, that they just condition that the septic be located you know, such that it meets the health code. I think I'll have to work on some language for that specifically, so that it protects the town's interests. So, because somebody's gonna come in here, buy this lot and say, you approved it.
My
And
daughter's invited.
so, understanding, it's maybe family, but again, we have to consider
We
it
want to stay there.
it could be anybody.
I know.
So, with that in mind, we just have to make sure everything complies with the health code, our new RU 200. Ironically, this would never have been an issue in the RU 80. The line would have just been drawn straight across. We wouldn't even they wouldn't even need to do a lot line revision or move the side yard. So, really, we're just trying to comply with a lot area requirement, which is, I think, very difficult to contend with, particularly when most of these lots were created when it was already zoned RU 80. You know, and in my opinion, it's kind of creating a hardship. I don't know if it's a legitimate hardship where they'd be eligible for a variance, but it does create some, and it might be something that the zoning commission could maybe re-examine. The increased zoning, or maybe we can, I'm not sure what the answer is necessarily, but it may just be, it is what it is, and the existing lot owners will have to contend with the zone. Because the zone's here to stay unless they down zone it, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. So my best recommendation is that you would condition any approval. But again, we have 65 days. Gives us some time to work with that language. I can put that together and work with maybe the town attorney.
So with the conditional approval, would we also mention, get in writing a request for waiver for open space, or is that something we're gonna agree on today?
Well, thus my recommendation to the applicant to verbally request it now, sort of, there's yellow paper, and you could write it right there.
Okay.
At least we'd have something in writing from the applicant.
And it's section 7.
And I think we have verbal
Dash
testimony
2.
from Mr. Gano that they have the ability to either move the lot line or the easement, whatever is necessary to accommodate the septic. So that's reassuring that he has that type of control. So I think with that, we probably can find a way to the finish line here.
Great.
Without having to withdraw and reapply. Just to cross some Ts and dot some Is. So I think if we can get them done with the close of the hearing, again, we have, I think, 6 days of extension time left. I don't think the commission's looking to, let alone trying to get you all here, to get quorum to discuss it, would be near impossible, I think. Plus I have other meetings this week in other communities, so. Yeah, I think our best shot here is to see what we can do with the motion and conditioning it so that it will meet the requirements as necessary. I am confident that reading Danielle's letter and her email today and talking directly with her, that the septic systems will work if installed. So that's comforting. It's just a matter of moving this line so that it's code compliant. And I know you don't have your engineer here necessarily, but I'm trying to think. I think we have another public hearing after this one with a similar situation. They had their septic, and I want to say maybe that one. I thought it might have said the minimum was 10 feet, but I could be mistaken. We'll have to look at that as well. Anyhow, so Mr. Flora just submitted a letter here. Dear members of the commission, on behalf of my client, I am requesting a waiver of the open space regulations per the RU 200 zone. Best, Brian Flora, managing member. So we can add that to the record. So there's a verbal request. Added to the record.
Ask for other members of the public if they want to come.
Yeah.
That's part of this, right?
Yeah. I don't have any other questions for Mr. Ford. You guys, have any other questions?
No, I'm just reading the open space subdivision regulations, and as you mentioned, there was 10 acres or more, or any subdivision of 4 or more lots. If it was less than 10 acres, we have more flexibility, I think, but.
Yeah. And I hate to hem and haw over less than an acre in this regulation, so it makes sense that we request a waiver. Okay.
Any other questions for Brian? Anybody? Thank you, Brian.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So now we'll call any members of the public. Anybody want to come up and speak to this application? Nobody? Okay. All right, so at this point, I think we want to make a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All right, vote on closing the public hearing on 29 Upper Walnut Hill Road. All in favor?
Aye.
That's 6-0.
It's closed.
Public hearing is closed. Okay. So let's move into the second public hearing, 46 Branyard Road, re-subdivision, John Paul Abarca.
Hi there, Commissioner. How you doing today? Good evening.
Good. Welcome back.
Excited.
Right.
So yes, last month we had to do an extension, basically because we found out that the existing leaching field, pardon me, go ahead. The existing leaching field was encroaching the proposed property. Thankfully, we were able to figure out a new solution. So we have now proposed a revised re-subdivision plan, site plan, which complies completely now with property lines, distances, and the existing leaching field doesn't need to be modified. So we're very excited about that. Additionally, we have also had correspondence from Danielle. She approved existing and proposed for both lots. We have also had a letter of support from Sarah Goodman, who is the Yukon archaeologist. So she found that there's no need for an archaeological survey. We do have an open space waiver as part of our application. I have been in contact with Alex Close, and we have asked for a waiver for stormwater management report. He did ask me to submit a plan showing roughly how we are going to be addressing gutters and runoff from the driveway, which I have submitted to him. I am still waiting for his official correspondence. It is my understanding that you don't need that in order to make a decision. However, I'm more confident that I have over-engineered our gutter management system in terms of residential. But yeah, at that point, if you have any comments, questions?
So typically, we would have the
So-
waivers as part of the approval process, right?
You would grant the waiver as part of the approval process, yeah.
Okay.
I'll just note, I don't know if you saw this May 7th letter from Alex? I don't know.
I don't think so.
In regards to this particular, oh, I'm sorry, that was 29 Upper Walnut Hill Road.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't have an official correspondence. He did. I did talk to him on Friday, and we talked exactly what he was looking for on the plan. And I do have a written waiver. He said I could do either, and I have both.
You're talking about from Alex?
Alex, yes.
Okay. All right. And, okay, we have a formal open space waiver. Gary was submitted.
Yep, it's dated May 8th, to whom it may concern, writing this letter to request a waiver from the stormwater report requirement in the re-subdivision of 46 Brainerd Road. We're proposing to build a single-family, 4-bedroom residence at the proposed property. Let's see, I got construction of the home will comprise typically a wood stick construction, asphalt shingle roof, typical white gutters at the eaves, just as Mr. Barker has described. Tend to filter the water runoff into the ground towards driveway gravel dry wells, placed approximately 8 feet from the new foundation at location shown on sheet A5, attached with this letter. As all new construction requires, the entire perimeter of the footings will be equipped with new French drains and will be attached to stormwater gravel dry wells, as well as they have a runoff pipe at the very bottom of the system. The pipe will daylight as shown on sheet A5 so that it passes the proposed septic and leaching fields, but doesn't affect the adjacent property. At the base of the proposed driveway, they're proposing a 10-foot French drain which directs stormwater to a dedicated gravel dry well. Looking forward to a thoughtful and successful project. Thank you, Mr. Abarca. So, request there is waiving, the waiver in writing. I guess if you look at the proposed residence, you can find that pipe.
That was a different sheet that I sent you via an email. Yes. This was the re-subdivision map from our civil engineer and surveyor. I did the architectural version of it. But yeah, by code, basically, you are required to do French drains on all footings, as long as the soil allows for it, or doesn't allow for it. The soil does require French drains, so they will be perforated pipes around the entire perimeter. They will be connected to the dry wells at the location shown, and then we will still have a whole runoff pipe that will still be able to take care of anything that's extra in terms of runoff.
So you can see here's the
Mhm.
pipe here,
Correct.
dry well around the house.
So we should have something from the Alex Close, the town engineer, shortly, I guess.
Yes. Unfortunately, he left a little early
He-
today.
Okay.
Yeah, I spoke to him verbally
Uh-huh.
over the last couple of weeks, and he had no concerns with the application. He said, yeah, it looks like they just need a written waiver request, and then he can generate a formal memo.
Right.
Anybody have any more questions for Mr. Barker?
Yeah. See, it's 4.43 acres, so it doesn't fit under the
Yes.
open space requirement, but we have flexibility on there with that one.
Okay.
I believe.
Unless anybody has anything else, we can, I think we're all set. We
Yeah.
can-
Perfect.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
I was actually
On
hoping
the
to,
open space, they've requested a waiver, so, yeah.
yes. I was hoping to formally close the open hearing today too, if the commission is ready to approve.
Well, that will come next, but,
Again, without Alex's report, he is staff, so like me, he can furnish it subsequent, but they run the risk of not being able to rebut it if it was negative,
I'm confident.
as am I. So I would not be, I'm confident that you'll have a favorable report from Mr. Close. So if you were to close the public hearing, I'm not concerned for the applicants. And again, I'll just go on record saying the applicants requesting this commission close the hearing, so,
Yes.
at their own potential demise,
okay.
we can. Again, they do have a pot of 65 days of extension time they can grant the commission to keep the public hearing open. That is an option. But if you're feeling that confident, and as I said, I spoke to Alex directly, I know.
I have as well, so I am confident.
if he
Okay,
just
so
was
we'll,
able to get that memo done today.
did anybody from the public want to speak? I don't know.
Is there anyone from the public to speak on this particular application?
Okay. All right, so do we make a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, take a vote. All in favor of closing the public hearing? Aye.
Aye.
That's 6-0. Hearing is closed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on to the 29 Upper Walnut Hill re-subdivision. We're not going
So you can have deliberation if you want to have any discussion, anything you want me to kind of really look into or dive into, but I think I've got my marching orders is to try to come up with a memorandum here in the language that would, where they could just modify the plan to become compliant versus having to withdraw it, but I'll work on that. So there's really no other discussion unless there's something.
are we looking for a motion for a conditional approval at this point, or?
At this point, you don't have, you have 65 days to render a
Okay.
decision. So typically, the commission in past has just directed staff to formalize a memo. So it gives them a jumping off point. You don't have to agree with it. You can,
Okay.
based on the record, I'll give you something to consider. If there's aspects like the open space, I'll certainly look to see if, the other
Okay.
subdivision where it was dedicated. Otherwise, you'll see a condition that 10% of the portion be dedicated as open space,
So this will be a next month thing.
Okay.
most likely, for a decision. Unless you feel comfortable voting on it now,
I mean, they've been
I-
waiting so long.
I want to make sure that we don't have control over whether or not the 29 gets sold, right? So
Yeah.
I sell my lot, let's just say, and unlikely in the near future, anyway, in let's say the next 6 months, but let's say they sold it, well, now I've got a septic system that we approved that's non-compliant with the health code, even though, because it was pre-existing and they put a line on the map. Yeah, it functions and we know it works, it's not gonna fail, but now, does that create liability for the town? I don't know. And does that new homeowner file suit against the town for having approved it, because now the health department telling them they gotta spend $20,000 to move their system after the fact? I just, that would be like
What
nightmare
is-
scenario.
What is less red tape? Is it him moving the septic or us doing a lot line revision?
The lot line revision, I think, is the least impactful. It's literally like, and you file paperwork for $250. You can get the application done in a month's time, not even, like 2 weeks. If, again, they require, health review, so depending on where Danielle is in the queue, but this is right in front of her, but she's just reviewed it, so she's very familiar. She'd probably be able to sign off and approve on the lot line revision. They'd have to file it.
I feel like he's been dealing with nothing but red tape for the last 2 years on this.
He has.
So,
And,
Sounds like it's prudent to wait till next meeting.
I think so. I can at least get some language that, one, protects the town's interests and liabilities, and maybe also serves the applicant
table it.
as well.
Okay. All right, that sounds, there's some things in play here. I think it's prudent. So do we have a motion to table this until next meeting?
Do we need a motion to do that, or just
Yep.
continue the?
No, you can
conversation?
just table discussion, but you
Just
called
table.
for one, so you can take one as well. Makes no difference.
So moved.
So move, you all right?
Second.
Second? All right, vote to table the discussion on 29 Walnut Hill till next month. All in favor? Aye. That's 6-0, tabled. All right, let's move on to Branyard Road. The issue here is the two requests.
Yeah, just the,
Yeah, it does that.
Pardon me?
so yes, issue here is just basically getting the stormwater, a memo from Alex verifying that
Mhm.
there's no issue with the stormwater. Aside from my
Okay.
verbal testimony,
Okay.
you would have that. Again, we're kind of in the same situation where we have 65 days to render a decision. It would certainly give me time to receive that letter from Alex and draft you a brief motion.
Well,
Otherwise, you could work, you could act on it based on my verbal testimony. That's,
Since we have 65 days, we can wait till Alex has something in writing.
and if that's what you're comfortable with, then certainly.
I
know-
would feel more comfortable with that, too.
Okay.
Yeah, I know Mr. Barker wanted a resolution tonight, but it's
Can't blame me.
It's protocol. I'm
Mm,
sorry,
mm.
but yeah, we gotta get the letter, make sure
Absolutely.
everything's right. So
Mm.
apologize for that, but
Completely understand. I totally understand
okay.
the legality of the situation. It's no
Yeah, we're
problem
just
at all.
trying to follow the process.
Absolutely.
I understand you're probably frustrated a little bit, but
No, I am confident, and
yeah.
I'm looking forward to talking to him tomorrow. Unfortunately, I just couldn't reach him today.
Okay.
Otherwise, that was my last T that I had to cross. But I really have worked with everybody in terms of this whole
Yeah.
process, and we've gotten just about everything else done.
Absolutely.
And like
Appreciate-
the previous application, now that you're here and we have the public hearings open on this, you had a similar separation issue here, right? And how far, what was the health code requiring between you and the property line here?
So, in terms of existing leaching fields, the exception is 10 feet. They asked for 15 for new ones, but existing leaching fields can have 10. That was from Danielle Holmes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe in that other situation. Okay. Thank you.
All right, so I think we're going to table this to next meeting. Do we have a motion?
Motion to table till next meeting for the Brainerd Road re-subdivision application.
Second.
I think Nina raised her hand too.
Okay.
I happened to look up. but-
Vote to table? All in favor?
Aye.
That's 6-0. Gary?
Is that officially Kevin or Nina? In the second?
Yeah.
Who
For
seconded?
the, I got, Kevin, I heard him on
Kevin?
the record, Nina had raised her hand, so I guess for the
Sure,
record,
no, it's all right.
Flip a coin.
Kevin, for the record.
All right, Mr. Barker, I appreciate you coming in tonight, and
Thank you.
we'll resolve this in next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the next up is the zoning referral, application of James Quill for a proposed text amendment to section 8.2, adding in section 8.2.18 to permit storage facilities in the CA zone, subject to special permit with additional controls in section 25.5 of the East Lyme zoning regs.
So I don't know if you have much familiarity with this. Historically, I don't have a bunch, other than we do have some existing self-storage facilities in our existing commercial CA zone. That said, the use is no longer allowed in the CA zone. So these are pre-existing non-conforming uses. So I tried looking back as to when the zoning commission had previously removed the use. I was unable to actually track that down today, but that being said, at some point in history, the zoning commission had removed the use from the CA zone. So while self-storage facilities would be consistent with commercial development and it supports economic growth and economic development, I think the zoning commission looked at the use and the type as more industrial, and it's a permitted use within our light industrial zone. And we have a number of self-storage facilities in our light industrial zones, Capitol Drive being one of them, and the other on Liberty Way. So I think the question here becomes is adding it back to the CA zone consistent with the plan of development and what the town was envisioning. Somewhere along the line, like I said, the zoning commission omitted it from the permitted uses. Here they're looking to add it back as a special use. I don't know that it's necessarily consistent with the future development of town in terms of the CA zone and what we're really looking to get there. So I would point you to the zoning regulations. I can pull them up here if it's easier. Section 8 is our CA commercial, and the description and purpose of that is a commercial district along arterial routes. The purpose of this district is to provide for convenient neighborhood and community-oriented commercial development. Doesn't really define what that is, except it has permitted uses, everything from single-family detached, two-family dwellings, business or professional offices, inn, hotels, motels, hospitals, retail sales stores, less than 20,000 square feet, gross retail bakery, gasoline service station, standard restaurants, personal service establishment, undertaking establishment, child care center, and private education uses under 4,000 square feet, and accessory uses there too. There's a slew of special permit uses, which this is being proposed. But nowhere in there is the self-storage. So it was hard for me to decipher exactly why they omitted it, other than somewhere along the line they felt it was too intensive of a use for the commercial zone, is my guess.
That CA zone is, I was looking at the map, it appears that's all around Flanders area.
Primarily, so if you look to the map to your left, that's in this room, that purple area that looks like kind of like a Y, and then there's the purple area all along Route 156 on the south end of town, and it includes a large portion of Pond Cliff.
So that's a zone CB, I think, though, right? Is that, I don't see that as a CA zone.
Which
Down in Niantic,
there's
or is it?
it's a mix of both. So you
Mix
have
of both.
downtown, actually
Okay.
Village Core is CB, and as you move west, it turns into CA. Yeah. So at
Okay.
about Patagonia Road.
It's this is all CA, Flanders.
At 156, it starts to turn. The Nyack Center School, so it starts turning to the commercial zone.
I mean,
From
this,
CB to CA.
this has to be fronted on arterial route, so it'd be like right on 156 or right on 161, right?
Correct. I mean, you would think you would need, for such a
Is
type
it
of use.
even a lot? I mean, it's like, it has to be 40,000 square feet.
Yeah, they do have a parcel in mind, I believe the applicant does anyway. But that's not the subject of this application. They're just right now trying to get the use approved. And again, I would just note that the zoning commission does not necessarily have to approve as a use. I mean, it's their discretion. So I suspect, it's my hallucination, that they would not necessarily approve it because they removed it previously. I was not able to dig out what that rationale was.
And I'm looking at the proposed text amendment. It says to permit storage facilities in the CA zone, subject to special permit. So it's not that they're allowing them, they have to get the special permit.
They'd have to get a special permit.
Okay.
Yeah, so certainly it's a higher level of scrutiny by the commission to get that permit versus an as of right. But
I don't know, my opinion is it didn't seem like something I'd want to add to a CA area. That's my personal opinion, but I don't know what everybody else feels on it.
I'm looking at some of the recommendations in the
I mean-
chapter 8 of the POCD, 8.2. This, it touches upon it. They consider amending allowed uses or uses by special permit in the residential zones adjacent to CA and CB zones, allow for more flexibility in home-based business uses and businesses that can be operated out of residential structures. When they talk about preserving the character and the feel.
so that reading the light industrial general description and purpose, the light industrial is a district suitable for heavy commercial and light manufacturing, orientated essentially to major transportation facilities. The purpose of this district is to provide areas for industrial and commercial uses in an open setting that will not have objectionable influences on adjacent residential and commercial districts. So I think the thought here is if at one time self-storage was permitted and none omitted, it somehow would have some sort of negative effect on adjacent uses. And I would just note that we do allow single-family detached dwellings within the CA zone. So maybe that's the take here, is that the zoning commission is saying, hey, because of the residential uses that we currently allow within the CA zone, adding a use such as self-storage would be potentially adverse to that. That would be the connection that I would make. I mean, I guess.
Were you reading the recommendations on 8.2? Is that what you were reading?
Yeah.
It's right here.
What's the CA zone, I think?
Did
is-
you read 8?
So I could only think in terms of outdoor self-storage, or that the traffic is what the objection is there, maybe the site lighting or something. Otherwise, it's
So-
usually relatively quiet use.
One of the recommendations of the POCD in 8.28 is to consider a rezone of the current Flanders Commercial District on Boston Post Road from Chesterfield Road to the west as CB, which is more business oriented, I believe, like Niantic. And to encourage redevelopment to improve upon the village concept. So it kind of wants to move away, recommendation is to kind of move away from, this type of development, I think is what they're getting at.
What are the odds of that? That I opened the document right at section 8.2, it opened.
Yeah, I was looking at 8. I think
Random.
Rich was citing section 3, Rich?
I think it's in 3, yeah.
Yeah, 3 and 8 are there.
Section 3,
3, they talk about consider amending the allowed use or by use of special permit, the CA and CB zones. Like, I think this is what Rich just said, to allow more flexibility in home-based business uses and businesses that can be operated out of residential structures, therefore preserving the character and feel, allowing a transition from commercial to residential zones and increasing the availability of commercial space in town while not negatively impacting its residential feel. I've talked enough.
which section was that again?
Yeah.
8.2.3.
There's also something in the last recommendations about encouraging appropriate agricultural uses in commercial and industrial zones such as hydroponics, which they do note in the, under controls number 5, but they talking mostly about there's wetland, number 4 I should say, but it's mostly if the portion of the lot contains wetlands, so.
It sounds like it's inconsistent.
Me too. That's what I say, but whatever, we could take a vote. Anybody else have any comments on this? Any thoughts? Okay.
Is there a plan for this? I mean, I know they're just asking if they can do it, but is somebody planning on doing it?
It sounds like it, but I don't think they've come forth.
It still has to go through zoning.
Yeah.
We're just referring.
This is just a referral to zoning, whether or not this is consistent. And to me, it
With our
doesn't feel
documents.
consistent, and I think Tim's saying he doesn't feel consistent. I don't know how you other folks feel, but we could,
You're saying you feel that it's not consistent?
yes. It's basically they're putting in, storage facility
In Flanders Village,
in a Flanders Village area where that really should probably be in a more industrial zoned area.
And again, that's up for zoning. We just have to look at our documents and see
Yep.
which we are, and I have nothing else to add to it.
I don't either. Should we take a vote on whether or not we feel it's consistent or not, or?
So, yeah, you would take a vote on whether or not it's consistent or inconsistent. And if you're finding it inconsistent, you would say, I think here that it's inconsistent with section 8.2.3,
3,
where that it's proposing warehousing and industrial use within a village district, or would allow it anyway, within our CA commercial village area. And so that's the approach that I would recommend.
okay.
All right.
I think you're okay with that.
Motion to find the zoning description change in section 8 inconsistent with the POCD section 8.2.3. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, motion to find the proposed text amendment inconsistent with section 8-2-3 of the POCD.
Second.
All right, we'll take a vote. All in favor? Aye. Tell me, is that you, yes or no? No? Okay, so with Rich, myself, Tim, Nina? Okay, and Tom? No, wait, yes or no?
No, it's not consistent.
Not
Okay,
consistent.
all right, so that's 5 to 1.
No, it's just because it says it. I know I saw it.
Okay. All right, 5 to 1, inconsistent with the POCD.
The zoning didn't even think it.
So they'll need in order for them to approve it, they'll need a majority vote.
You need a 4-2 vote, yes.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Municipal referrals are none. Old business. Gary, do you want to speak to this?
Would love to. So I've added a few more sections here because this is as a result of some past subdivisions, as I'm currently learning. We would like to, at least I would like to make some changes, particularly to the sections having to do with potable water. Ben North, our water utilities engineer, has also suggested maybe some changes that we get a little more explicit in maybe the review process so that we don't miss certain things and certain items. I guess a good example is the Lakeside Point subdivision, 6-acre piece. We carved it into 3 lots, technically 4. Our regulations require that the private driveway be on its own lot. That essentially cuts off the 3 lots from Heritage Road, as an example. And because that 4th lot, that driveway lot, is well over 400 feet, it puts the proposed lots well beyond where they would have to be required to connect to the water service. The other argument there is that, we've already paid for including this area within our service, and so there's a desire to pick up the additional units and put them on water, right, because they're going to be ratepayers. So in that particular subdivision, because of that 4th lot and that driveway lot, cutting those lots off, they're not required under the health code to connect to the water service. So Ben kind of felt that, hey, we should try to clarify the regulations a little bit to work on that. So I just listed them there, and these are things that I think we ought to work on as a result of that one subdivision in particular. Learned a few things. And again, then just in general, the application submission procedures. And as we saw tonight with both applicants, the health reviews were behind. And I think the question is, how come the commission is getting these applications submitted, they're going to public hearing, and they're still incomplete, in that they didn't obtain that health approval prior? And that's a good question. And I think as part of our review process, if it's not in the record, then maybe this commission ought to deem the application incomplete and deny it right on the spot, regardless of what the applicant says they submitted or didn't submit, and then they can argue that and appeal that decision to Superior Court if they want to argue whether or not they submitted all the information. But that is something that I just want to put out there, is that might be the condition that we create, is if we're instantly denying these things, we might see more appeals, and that, wait a minute, I submitted everything, because you're looking at roughly, typically, at least $2,000 minimum on an application fee, right? So it's not exactly small.
No, so I know you're saying.
And then as I talk about these changes in our fees, while they are set by ordinance, and I know we're all feeling the pressure of inflation and the current economic climates and all of that, and it seems like every year we feel it. I think it might be time that we revisit our fees, and we may need to increase them, unfortunately. While the cost of construction continues to increase, the cost of goods and services are also increasing across the board. So, when our budgets are what they are, and we need to more help balancing that, we lucked out with a large bolus of money that the state provided, but we can't get reliant on it, in that regard. So I'm thinking maybe some increase in fees. I'm going to talk to Mr. Mulholland. Maybe zoning can take a look at their fees as well. The building department has just increased their fees, so I wouldn't think increasing theirs are really necessary at this point, because that was just done. But it's been a while since we examined our fees. That's on the subdivision level, and I've heard from other, engineers that it might be good because of some of the changes that we have made to the regs, that there's more like maybe a sliding scale, different parameters. I don't know, but I think it's worth taking a dive into. So I figured I'd lump all of that into this Section 4, Section 5, 6, 7, 8, and 12. So it's not every section, but it's a little bit here and there. And I'll start working on putting that all together with the help of staff from Water and Sewer, Alex from Engineering, and Danielle from Ledge Light, as well as Mr. Mulholland. So once I have those all attached to you, I will provide those. I don't know if we want to just maybe shorten this for the agenda's sake. I can just put subdivision regs as, it's going to take me a little bit before I have a draft in front of you. I would anticipate at least 2 months. I can maybe give you a section here and there, but I don't know if that's really efficient, but. So that's kind of where that stands.
Okay,
All right.
sounds
Keep us
good.
posted, thanks.
More to follow, thank you. All right, so new business tonight, we have the Niantic Highlands resubmittal, the Holmes Road development. I guess tonight
You guys remember that one?
our activity is to determine if a public hearing is required for this, Karen?
Yeah, it's my understanding it's a 20-lot subdivision, and pursuant to our regulations, it requires a public hearing. I did find interesting that the letter that was provided by Attorney Garrity indicated that because it's a subdivision, it was not, didn't need a public hearing, and that is statutorily correct. Subdivisions don't require necessarily public hearings, but our regulations go a little bit beyond the statute and require the public hearing for anything for 10 lots or more.
Yep, that's
So-
section 4-4-3.
Correct.
And this is still 20 lots, right? From
That
before?
that's according to this application, that is what they indicated, the number of lots, 20. They've indicated a CAM review is not required. The zoning district is not applicable. Again, the zoning district is RU 200. As an 8-30G application, they're saying they don't have to adhere to the underlying zoning. In addition, they will argue that they don't have to adhere to the subdivision regulations either. So, this should be, I'm not sure. So I'm going to recommend that maybe this is kind of new to East Lyme. East Lyme, to the best of my knowledge, and since I've been here, has never experienced an 8-30D subdivision with the exception of their first submittal, which was withdrawn. So, never seen one to the finish line. I'm going to start from the get-go. It might behoove us to hire counsel to help guide us through this process as it pertains to the affordable housing aspects, and certainly the public interest. Again, it's a 12-acre piece, and you're putting 20 homes on 12 acres
I remember this.
in an area that was just recently, went from RU 80 to RU 200. So,
And on a road that can barely fit 2 trucks down it.
yeah, it's a narrow road. Has the shoulders rather are kind of high in some places, low in others. But my understanding is that it's at least, I think, 24 feet edge to edge. I don't believe there's curbs in some places and curbs in others. If I recall, I believe they purported that it was 24 feet all the way across the town line. So certainly something we can look into and request that they verify, and again, but I think that also speaks to the traffic. 20 lots is going to generate some traffic, so I think it might be beneficial to request they provide a traffic analysis as to what kind of impact. I don't necessarily think 20 lots would reduce the level of service on Holmes Road, but certainly an analysis would help demonstrate that the traffic that safe conditions would remain upon the construction of this thing, if it were to be developed. So if there's other documents that you feel that they might need to submit, we certainly should request them sooner than later. That being said, I'll point you to the last page of their application, which I think you all have a copy of. I did not provide you all the additional copies of the site plans. I figured we'll save that for the next meeting. But there's subdivision application checklist going through this. They said waiver request is not applicable. Again, I think that's because it's an 8-30G. And again, wherever they didn't need to comply with any of our regulations, you get an NA. So they did indicate that they provided a sewage disposal report and a water supply report. I'll note that we do not have a letter from the health district. Rather, they made application, and per their design report indicated that the proposed single-family home will utilize individual septic systems, and that the applicant has submitted an application to the Ledgely Health District for approval of feasible locations for each of the proposed septic systems as required by the subdivision regulations, Exhibit K.
So as it stands now, they've submitted an application. It's not complete. Are we requiring it to be complete before we go to public hearing?
I would hope so.
Well, Section 4 of our regulations, subdivision regulations, the right section here, it's,
So hearing shall commence within 65 days after receipt of such application.
But I'd like to go back to Section 4-2-3, design reports, and just there's a number of reports that have to get submitted from the archaeological biological survey, but we do require a sanitation report in conformance with Section 5-4, as well as a water supply report in compliance with, again, Section 5-5. Section 5-4 and 5-5 require a letter from the health department be provided certifying the land to be subdivided and subdivision plans are satisfactory for on-site sewage disposal system. We don't, that was not submitted, rather a statement indicating that an application for that letter has been submitted. Again, Section 5-5-1 regarding the water supply report also requires a report from the health department be obtained and submitted by the applicant certifying the land to be subdivided and the subdivision plans are satisfactory for the installation of a private water supply. So with that, I don't know that we have that in the record from the Ledgely Health District. Looks like there's no public improvements being proposed. So I take it that the roads, I believe there's 2 roads in this. I don't have the copy of the plan with me. And then they have a notification of adjacent property owners, TBD, because that's to be determined based on whether or not we hold a public hearing. So I think we've established the fact that we need to hold a public hearing pursuant to our regulations. My next question is the application complete in that it lacks a letter from the health department? Being that the applicant is not here this evening,
Have to address that next
to
month.
address it. They'll need to address that next month, but we do have 65 days to schedule a public hearing. So I will work with staff on scheduling that. But we'll do it as quickly as we possibly can, but we have a number of things we need to get in order before we open that, such as securing counsel and making, the appropriate notices and things like that for the public hearing.
Imagine there'd be a lot of public comment at a public hearing for these.
Pardon?
Imagine there'd be a lot of public comment on a public hearing for
There's
this
plenty.
type of request, for a 30G development or subdivision.
Yep.
So that's just a work in progress. We'll hear next time from the applicant. We'll ask them to maybe state their position regarding their application and its completeness and the health code requirements and our regulations and the requirement for a letter from the health department.
So it sounds like we're going to need an executive session on this one, probably.
Maybe.
Or just count.
I wouldn't say we need to do that immediately, but there's no pending litigation
Okay.
right now, so I don't know that we need to. Yeah. I think
Yeah,
we're okay. We
I'm
would just
getting
need we could have a conversation and discussion with the town attorney or whoever the attorney will be. Most likely, I'll look to Mike Carey. He's provided special counsel. Our counsel is limited with this particular applicant. I believe they have a conflict of interest. That being said, and just for the record, and I'm not certain, but that same conflict of interest, I believe there are several entities that have I don't know how to articulate this, but what I did note is that I know because of the conflict that our former town attorney, Waller, Smith, and Palmer had, I believe Mr. Torrance is also not able to bring forward an application before this commission. So while this is Kristen Clark is the applicant, I don't know that it makes a difference who writes the check. But I just found it interesting that because the check came from Garrity and Bonanno, but the note on the check on the stub that indicated who the client was says Jeff Torrance. So I do question that, and I think there's some new statutes that we can now ask and request who the members are of the LLCs that are getting paid to do the work. I'm not 100% certain on that. I'll check that with special counsel if we need be. But that was brought to my attention by some staff today. So, I think that might behoove us as well. At least to ask, can't hurt to ask. And if they don't want to answer, they don't want to answer. But but if they're statutorily required to because of this new legislation, that certainly would be good to know.
Conflict of interest, yeah.
Well, it would be easier to identify whether or not there were any that existed. So, being that the client name on the check is, that's your kind of, I don't know if that holds any weight or not, but I certainly thought that was interesting to see, based on my understanding of the settlement agreements that are in place that we're constantly reminded of. So, that's all I have.
So the purpose of retaining counsel is to provide clarification with the new legislation relative to 830G?
Yeah, and how we didn't necessarily bring counsel, I reached out to Mike, but we didn't actually bring him before the commission or have any discussion with him directly with the previous application, and I think there were a number of questions there that we certainly could have had answered, or I certainly would have liked to have had a legal opinion on. And so if I'm making, just being proactive and just making the assumption that those questions are going to come up again, and this way we'll have attorney available, readily available, possibly, I'd like potentially at the meeting to help answer some of that.
Okay.
This guy's coming back in a half hour.
So for tonight, what are we doing here?
So here we're just, we have to table action on it. Staff needs to schedule a public hearing, but I think it would, we just need a consensus that it does in fact require a public hearing, you could certainly make a motion that it requires one pursuant to section 4-42, was it?
Yes, they have the wedge lights, the information.
All right, so you need a motion to table.
Yeah, table discussion,
Table discussion.
because it requires a public hearing.
Okay, do I have a motion?
And I will request the applicant provide clarification on the completeness of their application as it relates to those design reports.
Okay, motion to table new business, discussion of new business for Holmes Road, Kristen Clark, PE applicant, to require a public hearing and to fulfill, what were you saying, Gary, earlier? I'm sorry.
So we table the discussion because it requires a public hearing and to really,
Seek counsel.
I used the word secure, but secure legal counsel.
Yeah. Okay, and to secure legal counsel.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
6-0. Approve the tabling discussion on the Holmes Road. Excuse me. All right, I think we're good.
Motion adjourned.
Motion adjourned. All in favor? Okay, I need a second.
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 All in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
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 6-0. Adjourned. Oh, God.